We have 3 sons, and we were so excited when we found out we were pregnant and that we were going to be having a daughter. We did an early blood test, so we found out like super early, and then I miscarried at 11 weeks on Christmas Eve. What a great Christmas present. I had a miscarriage between our second and third son at 8 weeks, and although it was traumatic and emotional because my husband was out of town for work, I prayed about it and felt like that something was wrong with the body for my child, and so I was just recycling it and gonna make a new one for my baby that would be coming. And just like 2 months later, I got pregnant with our third son, and I felt really strongly like that was his, like just had to make a better body for him. You know, you have your spirit, that's innately you, and then when your body dies, you know, that's the part that goes to heaven. And then during this miscarriage, I also prayed about it, about why this was happening, and I think the hardest part was that I knew that it was a daughter, and wanting a daughter so bad, it hit me a lot harder, I think, because when you know the gender of your child, you imagine that child, not just like a baby, the idea of having a baby, but it was like, I imagined her. I imagined what clothes she would wear, what she would look like when she went to kindergarten, at her wedding. You know, that's what I imagined. I imagined my daughter. And then to have her taken away, it was really painful. And again, I prayed about it, and I felt like I will still get a chance to have her in our family, that there was something wrong, and so I'm just gonna make a new body for her. And so I'm like, okay, still early enough that I didn't lose a baby, I'm still gonna get her, I'm okay. And then like this like deep depression set in. I couldn't get out of bed. I felt like I was broken. Like, what was wrong with my body that I couldn't grow a baby correctly? And not just that you hear that 1 in 3 women has a miscarriage, and so I thought, oh, I had a miscarriage, we're good to go, But no, I've had 2. Out of 5 pregnancies, I've had 2 miscarriages. And then anger set in. First sadness, and then anger. My sadness was for the loss, and then the anger was because I knew I would still get my daughter eventually, but why am I still sad? And I had a really hard time forgiving myself for not making a good enough body for my child. And of course, you go through like, is it because I did this? Is it because I did this? Is it because I didn't eat this? Or I did eat this? Or because that one time I drank an energy drink, or I drank a soda? Like, did I run too hard on the treadmill? Did I pick up a box that was too heavy? What did I do? In the depths of sorrow and agony and pain and anger and just like pushing everybody out, I didn't talk to any of my friends because, frankly, I'm usually a happy person and I wasn't happy. I didn't want them to see that weakness. And so I pushed everyone out, but my husband was there, and he didn't let me be alone. He let me grieve, and then he was just loving and open. Between him and my children and God, that was what pulled me out of my grief of my miscarriage. It's been 3 months now, and I still get sad, and I still miss my daughter, but I can still be happy and have a good life, because I know that there are those in my life who love me and who need me. And love is the greatest cure for any sadness and any wrong. It's love. So one night in the middle of my grief, my husband, my 2-year-old, and my 4-year-old climbed up into my bed, got under the blankets, they were all snuggling, and we were just, holding each other and laughing. It hit me. My children and my husband still need me. And it's not fair for them to lose me just because we lost her. That would be really selfish of me to take my love and my time away from them. The next day, I got up out of bed before 10 o'clock and I actually participated. I cleaned, I took care of the kids. I did what I needed to do. And honestly, that was the first day that I had felt all right since the miscarriage. And it was because I got busy and I was helping others. And since then, I mean, this YouTube channel is kind of a product of that. I needed something to fill my time. I needed something to put energy in that would make me feel happy and fulfilled, so that it would not make up for that loss, but it would help fill that void that was in my heart. If you're suffering from a miscarriage and you're still in the throes of depression and sadness, please, please talk to someone, get help. You know, 1 in 3 women statistically has a miscarriage. It's kind of an awkward subject to be like, hey, did you have a miscarriage? You know, and then they're like, oh, I've never gone through that. And you're like, oh, awesome, it's just me who's broken. Here's a few things that you can look for to kind of scout out the women around you that might have had a miscarriage. If after they got married, it was a couple years before they had a baby, either they struggled with fertility issues or they had a miscarriage. If they have a big gap in between their children that's different from the gaps in between the other children, they probably had a miscarriage. And if they have more than 4 kids, chances are they might have had a miscarriage. If you're afraid of just asking people if they had a miscarriage because, you know, it is a very sensitive subject, maybe you don't go right out and ask them. Those women that you've noticed those things about, maybe you could start to share kind of what you're going through. And then if they feel comfortable, they could share that with you. I know there are many groups online, support groups that you could join, either Facebook groups or on, I think it's called Baby Center, where women have gone through the same thing. One thing I learned from this whole experience is that it's not a weakness to feel sadness or to cry or to let your emotions go. I think that that can actually be a strength if you accept those emotions as real. Not every emotion is going to be positive. Allowing myself to actually grieve, even though there was no child to show for the world, to allow myself to grieve and to feel sad and to feel that loss. And then, you know, a month or 2 months later, if I have a day or a moment when I remember the loss, and allow myself to feel that sadness, but then remind myself that it's okay, that everything's gonna work out, and that there's probably a good reason that the pregnancy didn't go full term. Talking with my doctor after this whole experience, she explained to me that most miscarriages that happen before 12 weeks is because of a deformation in the body. Something didn't form right. And so that actually gives me peace of mind. I would go through that 100 times if it meant a better life for my child, a better body, a better quality of life. I would. And I know that every mom out there would, because we love our children and we want to give them the best that we can. In spite of the sadness and the tragedy in it, you know, it's a blessing in disguise. Now, I'm not talking about like stillbirths or late-term miscarriages. Those are completely different. I mean, they're similar, but those are completely different. I'm talking about an early term miscarriage before 12 weeks. There's nothing I can do if something genetically went wrong. I'd rather have to wait for my daughter. If it takes a year, 2 years, 3 years, I'd rather wait and make a better body than have her have to go through health problems. I had open heart surgery when I was 2 weeks old. I have had to deal with the repercussions of that all my life, and so I would never wish that upon my child. It's interesting, it's been like 3 months, and I thought I was like completely, I'm over it, I'm ready to, it's been 3 months, I'm ready to try again. And just today, running on the treadmill, Stronger by Kelly Clarkson comes on, and I start bawling like waterworks, the ugly cry. Just, I'm still running, but I'm crying, and I'm trying to look through my tears so I don't fall off the treadmill. I had to like hold on it, but I was going so fast I didn't want to jump off. I should have just jumped off. I don't know why I did, but I just was running while I was crying on the treadmill. In that moment, I realized I needed to make this video, if not for anyone else, for myself, to give myself closure. So besides the obvious, probably the hardest part about this miscarriage was that literally the week before I miscarried, we announced we're pregnant, we're having a daughter, and we put it on social media and everybody knew. And then I miscarried. And so I had to then tell everybody that I had a miscarriage. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to have to say anything. But I knew that if I didn't, it was going to be worse because people would keep messaging me, oh, how's the pregnancy? You know, I mean, eventually they'd figure it out, but it would be awkward for everyone involved. So I just wanted to lay it straight. And I did. And afterwards, I was so surprised by the amount of comments that I got from women saying that they've gone through the exact same thing. You know, either they got married and they tried to have kids for multiple years and they're still trying, or they've had a miscarriage in between children. You know, there was a lot of different situations, but I was so incredibly surprised, and like, it made me feel so loved that on that kind of public platform, they were willing to talk about what they went through to comfort me. And I know that if you will share what you're going through with those around you, that you will be so surprised by the love and by the amount of support from those around you. That can be a blessing, allowing others to comfort you. You know, one thing I learned through this miscarriage is that not just to allow myself to cry and be sad for myself, but it's okay to, when people ask you how are you doing, to say, I'm not doing great, I'm not doing okay, I'm sad, I'm emotional, I'm angry, and to just be honest. Usually I try to put on a happy face and just, yep, doing great. But I didn't have the energy to like fake it at all. I did not have the patience. I was just so done. So when people would ask me, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing crappy. My life sucks right now. I'm having a really hard time. And you know, the amazing thing that happened is instead of that person, if you say, oh, I'm doing okay, they're like, okay, good. Well, let me know if you need anything, you know. But because I was like, no, I need help. I am struggling right now. Amazingly, so many people brought meals to my house, brought flowers, bought chocolates, just came to visit with me and to like let me talk so I could just get everything off my chest and talk about my experience and, you know, kind of help me work through the emotions that I was going through. It was amazing. That is what I needed. And I needed to have the humility to be able to accept help because it helped me to heal faster. There is a light at the end of the tunnel and you will get there. And it's okay to accept that you're sad, but to also accept that there will be a day when you wake up and you won't be sad. It doesn't mean you don't love your child, but it means that you love those around you enough to keep going and to choose to be happy. I just want to thank all my friends and family who supported me through this time, and my family, and gave me so many words of encouragement and love. I wouldn't have been able to get through it without you or my family or God. I'm just so thankful for my life. And even though there's rough times, we can get through it. I love you guys.